Well, hi, I'm Jay Arthur, author of Lean Six Sigma for Hospitals and QI Macros. I was recently at one of the IHI presentations at their conference, and they mentioned the fact that how long does it take for medicine to adopt a new practice? On average, it's 17 years. 17 years. Doesn't that sound like ridiculous? You know, like I think penicillin was 25 years, some of the other things, but 17 years. And they say, well, you know, we haven't peer reviewed that, right? So we have to peer review it so we can confirm that your hypothesis is correct and that we can actually, right? So everybody has to go out and run their own study to convince themselves that this thing will work. And after 17 years and multiple peer review studies, they go, my work. This makes me crazy, right? This makes me crazy. But I want you to consider the same is true in your organization, right? If you want people to make a change, they have to be engaged in the analysis and figuring out the countermeasures to implement in their organization or department or work group or whatever it is, all right? So, you know, there's no way for us to, even when I was leading groups, even if I knew the answer, I did not tell them. Why? Because I'm an outside guy. My job was to help them recognize and come up with the conclusion that would solve their problem. Because when they came up with a solution, guess what? They owned it. Right? We didn't need 1,000 peer review studies, right? They will own it if you help them go through root cause analysis, figure out what's really going wrong, and come up with the countermeasures, and then they'll be committed to implementing them. They will not hesitate because they want to make it life better for themselves and their customer. I mean, this is true across organizations. We used to talk about, well, you can replicate this improvement across. No, you can't. Right? Because the next group over doesn't believe your numbers and they want to do a peer review study. It's almost easier to give them the data about their own organization, walk them through root cause analysis and countermeasures, and they'll come up with the same answer, but you'll get much more commitment and reality. You know, I wish we humans, you know, you could just say that way. You know, we're not Marines. They won't go that way. Right? I had one guy that I worked with, and you know, he said in the military, when he was in the Navy, we said go there, and people went there. He said, but in civilian life, that's not how that works. All right, so take the time to guide people and help them come up with and figure out their answer, and they will implement it much more easily. So that's my improvement insight for this week. Let's create a hassle-free America, hassle-free healthcare. Let's go out and improve something this week.